Hey guys, in this video we're going to talk about how to watch videos and take notes. So I know we've already done this, I know we did examples in class, but it's just kind of good every once in a while to go back and review, how you're doing taking notes, because how you take notes is very important. That's your cheat sheet, that's your explanation, that's your number one go-to resource. So if you don't have good notes, you don't really have anything that can help you when you're struggling with something in class. So what I want you to do is you're going to watch this video, and then at the end, so you might want to take out a piece of paper so you can take notes as we go, but what you're going to do is answer these three questions. So compared to how I take notes in this video, what are some things that you're doing well? Are you doing some of the things that I'm doing? Do you have good notes? What are some things you need to do to improve? So what are some things I do in this video that you don't do when you watch my videos? And then if you have any, as always, the last thing is any questions, comments, concerns. So anything in this video that didn't make sense, something you want to ask about, something you want to check with me in your notes, just write that down and then I'll take a look at it. So we are going to watch this video from Khan Academy. Yes, I know you've seen it before, and yes, I know it's about fractions. This is something you've seen before, but I'm going to take notes on this video just like I have never ever seen adding and subtracting fractions in my whole life. Because that's how a lot of the concepts that we're going to do in algebra are for you. They're brand new, and so you have to take really good notes. So here we go.
Cindy and Michael need 1 gallon of orange paint for the giant cardboard pumpkin they are making for Halloween. Cindy has 2/5 of a gallon of red paint. Michael has got 1/2 a gallon of yellow paint. If they mix their paints together, will they have the 1 gallon they need? So let's think about that. We're going to add the 2/5 of red paint, and we're going to add that to, or 2/5 of a gallon of red paint, and we're going to add that to 1/2 a gallon of yellow paint. And we want to see if this gets to being 1 whole gallon. So whenever we add fractions, right over here, we're not adding the same thing. Here we're adding 2/5, here we're adding 1/2. So in order to be able to add these two things, we need to get to a common denominator. And the common denominator, or the best common,
Okay, now he's talking too fast. Common denominator, I need to write that down. So I'm going to pause the video so I can write it down. To add fractions, I need a common denominator. Okay, so I got it written down, because when you write and listen at the same time, you miss stuff. So if there's a place where you're writing things down a lot, you need to pause the video, okay? Pause the video and get it written down, or just listen to everything and pause at the end and go back and write.
Denominator to use is the number that is the smallest multiple of both 5 and 2. And since 5 and 2 are both prime numbers, the smallest number is just going to be their product. 10 is the smallest number that we can think of that is divisible by both 5 and 2. So let's
Okay, again, I'm going to pause. So I need the smallest multiple of 5 and 2 and 10, and it has to be divisible by both. Okay, so I'm just writing some notes for myself, some things that, he's not writing anything down here when he's talking, but the things that he is saying are important for me to remember. So I'm going to pause and write down the things that he's saying so that when I'm working on practice problems, I can go back and have more than just numbers written in my notes. I need an explanation.
write each of these fractions with 10 as a denominator. So with 10 as a denominator. So 2/5 is going to be something over 10, and 1/2 is going to be something over 10. And to help us visualize this, let me draw a grid. Let me draw a grid with tenths in it. So that's that, and that's that right over here.
Okay, I am going to actually draw these grids that he's talking about. Again, I know that we have seen fractions before and we kind of know how to do this, and this is review, but when you're taking notes on my videos, it's stuff you haven't seen before. So every time I do a problem with fractions, am I going to draw the bars and divide it up? No, because now I know how to do it. But the first time, it'd be nice to have that picture. So if you had never seen fractions before, this might help you figure out what you're doing. So I'm going to draw that picture so I have it to refer back to in my notes. So let me divide these up into 10.
So each of these are in tenths. These are 10 equal segments this bar is divided into. So let's try to visualize what 2/5 looks like on this bar. Well, if we were to divide, right now it's divided into tenths. If we were to divide this bar into fifths, then we're going to have, so that's 1, actually let me do it in that same color. So it's going to be, so this is 1 division, 2, 3, 4. So notice, if you go between the red marks, you are going, these are each a fifth of the bar. If you go between the red marks, and we have 2 of them. So we're going to go 1 and 2.
Shade in
This
just
right
like
over
he's
here,
doing.
This part of the bar represents 2/5 of it. Now let's do the same thing for 1/2. So let's divide this bar exactly in half. So exactly in half. So let me do that. So we'll divide it exactly in half. And 1/2 literally represents one of the 2 equal sections. So this is 1/1/2. Now, to go from fifths to tenths, you're essentially taking each of the equal sections and you are multiplying by 2. So to go from fifths to tenths, you're multiplying by 2. You have 5 equal sections, you split each of those into 2, so you have twice as many, you now have 10 equal sections. So those 2 sections that were shaded in, well, you were going to multiply by 2 the same way. Those 2 are going to turn into 4 tenths. 4 tenths. And you see it right over here when we shaded it initially. If you look at the tenths, you have 1/10, 2 tenths, 3 tenths, and 4 tenths. Let's do the same logic over here. If you have 2 halves and you want to make them into 10 tenths, you have to take each of the halves and split them into 5 sections. You're going to have 5 times as many sections. So to go from 2 to 10, we multiply by 5. So similarly, that 1 shaded in section, that in yellow, that's going to turn into 5. That 1/2 is going to turn into 5 tenths. So we're going to multiply by 5. Another way to think about it, whatever we did to the numerator or whatever we did to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. Whatever we did to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. Otherwise, we're...
Okay, again, he said something important there, but there's no time for me to write it down, so I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to write it down. Whatever we do to the denominator, I'm going to use abbreviations, we have to do to the numerator. Okay, so because we multiplied by 2 in the denominator, I have to multiply by 2 in the numerator. So I need to have that written down again, so that I have an explanation to go back to. Okay, so I have it written down, now I can go back to listening what he's saying.
Somehow we're changing the value of the fraction. So 1 times 5 is going to get you to 5. And you see that over here when we shaded it in. That 1/2, if you look at the tenths, is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tenths. And now we are ready to add. These two things. 4 tenths plus 5 tenths. Well, this is going to be equal to a certain number of tenths. It's going to be equal to a certain number of tenths. It's going to be equal to 4 plus 5 tenths. 4 plus 5. 4 plus 5 tenths. And we can once again visualize that. Let me draw our grid again. So 4 plus...
So he's going to go through the grid explanation, and just so this video doesn't get super long, I'm going to stop there. But again, we did some math here, and so I need to write down what I did so that I know exactly what I'm doing the next time. So we said it was equal to some number of tenths, so the denominator is going to stay the same. And then what did we do up top? We added 4 plus 5, so I'm going to add the numerator. Oops, let me go back and fix that. Add the numerator. Okay, so I have the math over here. I have the work, and most of you guys are really good about writing down as I go through examples the work. But what I think we need to improve on is over here, the explanation part. Because you watch a video and then the next day you can't remember, well, why is this 10? Why didn't I add 10 plus 10? So you need to do a better job of writing down some explanation, all right? So go back to those 3 questions that I showed you at the beginning, all right, on your piece of paper. I want you to kind of reflect what are some things you're doing well, what are some things you need to improve on, and then if there's any questions or comments you have for me, write those on that paper as well. And you're going to turn that in and then start working on your retake assignments.